pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the agenda is pretty tight and specific for this special meeting. And we're going to have Marion explain her research. The options related to tax levy increase. Presenting, her as the manager, look for the best option, and then we have 2 pieces of old business to do. So I make a motion that we adopt this agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
These are copies for everybody to have a copy of things, so need one.
Did everybody get a copy?
Yes, I don't know, I didn't know if everybody had a chance.
Oh, wait, it'll be-
They're not all the same, no ma'am.
Oh, yeah, they're not sorted. They're not collated.
Oh, they're not collated, so I have all the $50,000.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to take one and pass it down.
Oh, so I did not know that. All right, here we go. I'm gonna keep one of these. Make sure you're.
I know, you're supposed to believe it.
Yeah.
There's
Thank you. I got them finished.
there's yours. There's yours.
I got 30, 40,
How many full packets should we have?
9.
100.
9?
Yes, here comes the 60,000.
Thank you.
This is how you guys have it for the reference.
That is 4. Okay, we're gonna have to have 1 second, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I have to late, these are the 70s. I'm putting them in order now. The ones I have.
There's 2 different 70s. One is, what is it? These are-
There's 2 70s, by the way, so
There's 2 70s and there's 2 80s.
Here's the other 70. 170 has an increase, one has a 2% increase. There's 170s. There's the 80. Where's the other page?
They have a financial.
Oh, let's go ahead.
Let's do it. So.
Yeah, there's 2 80s, 2 70s. So now, when you get all done with your stack, there should be 9 of these.
Yes, yep.
1, 2,
And we're gonna go from the lowest increase to the highest increase.
7, 8, 9.
No, there was no sense. So, just to get off the bat,
Is everybody ready?
everybody got them?
Let's let everybody get in a good place to follow.
Oh, the letters.
No.
Yeah, I had the letters, I made copies, I did not get them stapled together, I just realized. But
Guys ready? Okay.
if we want those, I can definitely make that happen. Just to reiterate, and hopefully all of you had a chance to read over everything. But over the last 2 years, the Rockwell Falls Public Library has transformed. We have gone from a place of controversy to a very welcoming community center, where people of all ages feel welcome. The newest group to feel welcome is our teens since the creation of the adult room. Our teen patronage has increased from averaging between 6 and 10 kids a month when I started 2 years ago to now we average around 100 kids a month, which is a huge increase and shows the impact that we are having on the community as a whole. Also, we've gone from being disorganized to being very well organized. Financial records are in order. There are receipts for every expenditure. Everything is very fightable. Again, the library, in my opinion, is very much, we are vibrant and vital to this community. And I think the increased patronage, especially our teenage group, exemplifies that truth. Again, hopefully you had a chance to read over all these budgets and my summary. that I sent you with my recommendation. My goal for today is to present this information clearly and respectfully so the board can make an informed decision on the level of funding needed to ensure the library's long-term stability and hopefully some room for growth, is what I would like to see. I do recognize that, tax increases impact all taxpayers, including everyone sitting at this table. My husband and I as well, and we have discussed it, and we both are definitely in favor of a tax levy increase because we support the library. We see its vital role in the community. To plan responsibly for the future, I've developed 9 different budget scenarios. Each of these assume a 3% inflation rate, a 2% payroll increase annually, and I did not increase any outside funding other than the tax levy because grants, whether it be state aid, county aid, or grants we apply for, income at front desk, that's all, it's not anything we can rely on. The only thing that we can truly rely on is the tax levy. So the whole point is so you can see the impact of the tax levy alone and how that affects the budget moving forward. So there's nothing like super dramatic in the expenditures. I haven't like, oh, in a higher amount said, hey, let's boost up the book budget as much as I wanted to. I kept everything flat for expenses so that we could clearly see the impact of the tax levy. Just one more little thing that I'd like to say is, I know that it has been presented, the notion of cuts. I have looked at those. I have made some, what I believe to be reasonable cuts to the projected proposed fiscal 27 budget, without hopefully, impacting the quality of services that our community has come to enjoy. Any further cuts, in my opinion, would reduce the experience that our community has been currently, experiencing for the last 2 years. In summary, but you've got tape on it, has one of those down. This just gives you a quick overview of the budget, starting with fiscal 28, which that's the thing we have to keep in mind. If we asked for an increase in May because our fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. We won't see it until late December, maybe early January of 27. So any increase that we get, we won't see until the fiscal year 28. So it's going to be 2 years out. And we need to keep that in mind if and when we ever need to ask for another one. Just looking at the first few, the 10,000 and the 30,000, Colin asked me if I did a 20. I did not. I did the 30,000 because that showed that it's really not, we're going to continue to borrow from our reserves. It's not sustainable. And we're just putting off asking for something larger to down the road. $40,000, we have some stability, not a lot. We're still looking at in another couple of years of asking for more than the tax cap. So there's still some risk involved with only asking for 40. With the 50,000, it maintains things as they are, but there is little, I'm not sure that there's any room for any growth at all, like expanding collections or expanding services, adding staff in any way, shape, or form, because with added services comes the need for more staff. At the $60,000 point, you see where we start to gain strong stability, where services are sustained and there's some room for growth. The 70,000 and the 80,000 continue to stabilize the library. If we ask for 70 with no additional increases right away, we would be looking in 4 or 5 years, starting to have to ask for at least 2% to avoid dipping into reserves and depleting that resource again. You can see as the numbers go up, the stability and the room for growth obviously improves, as well as our reserve fund. I have done some research on the reserve fund after chatting with Ken Boland, looking through the state comptroller. And there is no limit to how much we can have. We just need a policy that dictates how we use those funds. Typically, the state comptroller is fine as long as our reserves do not go above an annual budget. That doesn't mean they can't. But if they are, then we need to have them earmarked for something particular. You know, and obviously the larger amounts, like the 70,000 plus a 2% annual, or 80,000 plus a 2% annual increase, would give us significant reserves that we could use, you know, for maybe improving the driveway, or creating some parking, or, you know, stabilizing the structure of the buildings to better utilize the upstairs, big things like that. So I hope that summary is helpful for you. And then also, just for quick reference, as you are looking at the budgets, I created a kind of a cheat sheet. So you know which column is which fiscal year, and then a chart of the overall tax impact. And even at the highest levy that I have explored, with the cost of a home of around $200,000, we're looking at less than $10 a year per homeowner. So the impact is minimal. To stabilize the library and help it to continue to grow and remain vital and vital part of the community.
Okay, I really appreciate all this work. I really appreciate the research, the organization of it, the layout, the comparisons. Thank you for that. Yes, everyone did get that. So I'm also learning, we have been able to discuss this since November, budget and whatnot. At this point, having heard and read, having a chance to review Marion's research, I would like to entertain a motion. Or we have to do two things. We have to decide whether or not we are going to ask for a tax increase. That's just like yes or no, pass or fail. And the second one is which one of these would we ask for? So,
I move that we ask for tax increase.
okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Do,
Sorry, we discuss first. We make the motion, we second it, and we discuss. Any discussion?
Can you highlight the cuts that you have put in here for us?
For the current budget that's coming, that I proposed, that we have not yet approved for 27.
For any of it, you said that in
The cuts that I have made is for the proposed budget coming up this fiscal year. For Y27, which is the next fiscal year coming up.
Okay.
I have made some cuts there. Most of that is to programming and books, because the other items we have very little control over. I can't control fuel oil costs or electricity
correct. Yeah.
or anything along that line.
Do you have dollar amounts for those categories of how significant the cut was?
I can, as soon as I find it on the sheet, I absolutely can. So books were reduced out of the current budget that we are using. Books were dropped from 15,000 to 12,000. DVDs went from 550 to 500. Our Libby has gone down immensely from, we budgeted 1,500. Turns out it's only 525.41. I've left that stagnant for the 2027 year. Magazines, I've reduced from 150 to 100. Miscellaneous materials dropped from 500 to 200. Tech Talk, I just gave them a 3% increase. Unfortunately, that did not reduce. Programming, last year for the current budget we're working off of, we have a $10,000 budget, 5,000 of which is covered by a grant. For 2027, I'm proposing a $7,719.64 program. $600 of that is covered by a grant. So we're reducing it approximately $3,000.
So programming is cut from 7,000 whatever to 6,000, is that what you said?
No, but this year it's 10 and we're dropping it to 77, but both years have grants to help cover some of the programming.
Okay.
So they're not huge cuts, but my concern is if we make cuts that are too severe, we're not gonna be offering as much, and the community has really come to enjoy the programming that we offer. People are happy with the book selection and the way that has been growing. To reduce that, or to even reduce staff, if we reduce staff, we look at reducing staff, we reduce services. And, that's one of the things that we hear most often when patrons come in, is they just love the staff, and everyone is so friendly and helpful. And with less hours worked, there's gonna be less opportunity for that. And, it's not that I'm above it, but if I'm covering the desk, I'm not applying for grants and looking at other ways to help fund the library and whatnot.
So there's no payroll cuts at all?
No. No, I just simply cut, programming and materials was where I made the cuts.
Any further discussion? Questions?
I'm interested to hear what everyone thinks.
I feel like we-
That's the increase of everything.
Well, right now, we have to focus on one motion, and that is to ask for increase or not ask for increase in motion to do that. You're discussing where the cuts were, but the discussion has to stay focused on that one area. And I feel like we have already for months and repeated meetings discussed the cuts, and I recognize we all have different opinions about those cuts. What is more important and less important, what is, imperative and what is not. So I feel comfortable saying that we've reached a point where the tax increase is something that we should at least let the voters have a say in.
That's what you,
That's what I think we should,
right.
that's right.
So I don't think
Josh,
we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet in our conversation because.
Okay, Josh, hold on a second, because, in order to just keep moving and be productive, you had to say, I had to say, if no one else wants to say, it is time for us to vote on that motion.
So you're gonna cut me off and now let me continue.
No,
to
I'm
talk.
gonna follow Robert's rules of orders. You had a turn, and they say each person gets a turn equally. I just want all of us. to
That's,
be-
that's foolish.
So I'm
The
gonna-
taxpayers gave me the seat.
I know.
I can talk if I wanna talk.
Well.
The fact of the matter is, we have.
Into a
we-
place where other people don't get to talk or we don't get work done. So I'm not trying to cut you off.
That's what that just was.
Well, I guess I'm
That's
just
bizarre.
trying to follow the
That's
rules,
ridiculous.
which I haven't been following. I'm sorry about that. So,
I'd like a chance
yes, okay.
to speak. Because I was always in favor of a tax increase, before a minimal tax increase, but after reading through Marion's, presentation, I'm more convinced than ever that the problem is not with our spending. And I'm actually even sorry that, that we had to cut programming costs and so forth. I think the problem is the revenue, which obviously we haven't had a tax. Even assuming that the original allocation for the library was a well-researched one, we haven't had any tax increases to go along with inflation, and everything else has gone up. So, we're completely out of whack, and I feel like it's time to pull off the Band-Aid and not have to go every single year with. Well, I guess I'll say that when we get into how much the tax increase. Okay, but for right now, I would just say that I feel strongly that for those reasons, we need to have a tax remediation.
And I feel the same way. I feel like, I feel like we haven't asked for an increase in a very long time. Expenses have gone up. In the last 2 years, the library has become something really great. It's been well used. It's amazing to walk in here and see the energy and see how well programs are being attended, and what the community is getting out of this place. And I would hate to go backwards, and I feel like we need to move forward, and so I also want to be asking for an increase.
No comment?
The issue for me is the fact that we keep saying that the narrative that's being pushed is a revenue problem. And surely there's a revenue aspect of it, but it's actually a structural problem. And if we don't deal with the structural problem, we'll just be kicking the cans. And we'll be dealing with this issue over and over and over. 80% of tax revenue is payroll. That is unhealthy for any organization. It's outrageous for any organization. And if we do not deal with that, it will be a massive problem that we will all have to live with.
Okay, no, go ahead.
The payroll proportion is in line with all the other ones. And you can look at, you can say it's 80% that it's outrageous. That's either a payroll problem or it's a revenue problem. If the revenue is more, then it wouldn't be 80%, obviously.
We don't get to determine if it's a revenue problem.
So that's why we're here.
The taxpayers already determined that when they give us 190,000, what we've been doing is growing, even though the taxpayer was at 190,000 is the amount. We've been growing like they said 200 and 230 and 240 and 250. And we haven't been staying stabilized and at the actual amount that the taxpayers gave us. That's our.
So are you saying the library shouldn't be growing?
I'm saying that the taxpayers told us how much we could have, and we should be functioning within that amount. That's.
We've also given them an opportunity.
Yeah,
to ask.
it's-
We haven't given them an opportunity to change their minds about how much.
Right, so I respect that you want to be very responsible with taxes, and I think everyone at this table wants to be responsible with the taxes. And, I think we want to be careful with how we spend them. We've had those discussions, we have this motion on the table, I'd like to call to question the response to the motion that was made to apply for an increase in tax levy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Um, okay. I think I read that if you're silent and you don't vote no, though, it goes with the yeses. I'm not trying to manipulate anything, I'm just trying to follow the rules, and I don't know them all that well, but anyway.
Are you studying this week? Studying science in the board?
I did, Josh, because I did know, I
Well, I don't
feel
want
like
it to
each
be
do
a
things
yes.
as well as I can, that's all.
I don't want it to be a yes, I don't want it to be a no, I don't.
Okay, no, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse the matter, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, so, now, our decision before us is which of these packets is the one that we think is the best choice to put in front of the voters, recognizing that no matter what we choose here, the voters get to say yay or nay on that. So do you want to,
Well,
you've kind of already done that with this.
I've already done that, and I mean, the easy, I mean, you can look through the budgets, I mean, it just backs up the summary sheet, but I think this is your best reference.
Yep,
It just is very concise, and I think, to me, it makes it very obvious, where things start to be stabilized with growth for growth, and what the minimum amount should be.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not my decision, but,
I do feel like this research to all of us helps. And I'm gonna just speak to Josh because I think it shows a respect for what you were saying about kicking the can down the road. There's a definite future looking here that I think is addressed. And then also when you're concerned about, we're all concerned about the same things, but the people that have been the most vocal, but the concern about maintaining the fund balance. I feel like at least looks like it's been heard and addressed in the.
All this stuff.
Right, right.
Endless times.
Yeah.
There isn't any of us can really agree on anything here, we're all in different directions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
my theory here, you might, that's might, get away with a $10,000. Everything else, they're gonna not let it happen.
Okay,
That's my opinion, not
Okay.
the community. Okay, another thing that really isn't fair to two of the towns that are involved in crossing, it's Stony Creek and the town of Day. Those kids haven't got a chance to come here. Have, they go home on the school bus, their parents aren't even home from work yet. 90% of our events that we do here are from 3 or 3:30, 5 o'clock or 5:30. Their parents ain't even home from work yet. It's sad that they have to be involved in getting, basically, I'm gonna tell you, it's being punished. Their taxes are gonna go up for no reason whatsoever. If this library was only for Lake Luzerne and Hadley, because that's probably 99% of who's using this library,
Mhm.
then but to go ahead and say, okay, all you guys in Stony Creek and everybody in town today, guess what? Your taxes are gonna go up. And they're not benefiting at all, at all.
okay.
I mean, I know,
Stony Creek gets double taxed.
yes,
They
it is.
get double taxed.
Yep.
I, did this wrong again, too, sorry, not cutting you off either, but we need a motion on the floor first, and then the discussion. So,
See, Chris, I'm not trying to.
How do you make an option for it if you don't have the dollar amount that you're gonna choose?
I would like to make a motion that we accept Marion's in her letter, her proposal for the 60,000 plus 2%. I make a motion that we put that forward in front of the voters. A second,
I second that.
now we can discuss. And then but I heard you already say that you don't think it's gonna go.
No.
And I understand, and I wrote down, that makes a good point for the opportunities for Day and Stony Creek to be equitable. I do think that there's one part. Well, I don't know if Day and Stony Creek get to summer program that we were involved with. Anyway, that is an issue we need to think about. It needs to be heard about.
You've already decided if you're gonna, see, I would have done just the opposite. I would discuss this, where you were gonna pick.
Yeah.
Then decide if we're gonna do it or not.
We were told we were gonna have a conversation about numbers and be ready to work numbers, and instead, we've been fed a bunch of papers, we're like, no, we have to choose this. That's not what you committed to. And I understand these meetings have been an absolute train wreck. We've accomplished zero in every single meeting. If you look at the video, the same exact things are said by every single party for every single meeting. I understand that, but this isn't right.
So I'm trying to rectify that in terms of making it go according to some sort of parliamentary rules, and we were all given these packets prior to coming here.
That's her opinion. That's not the opinions of the board member.
But, and.
This is all her thought process.
Correct.
And that allows us no say in anything. We have shared our concerns about the fact that the payroll is 80% of the 190,000, and what you've presented is something that you're forcing down our throats. And you're trying to say that we have to ask the taxpayers for $60,000 increase. I scoff at that. I scoff at a 2% increase. I can't imagine what people are gonna laugh us out of town.
All right.
And
Well,
I don't care what people think. I just think it's wrong. I
Okay,
think it's wrong because we haven't put effort in on our end.
I believe, well, I disagree on no effort on our end. I feel like we've all put in effort, and that in the end, Marion as the manager is like the bedrock really of the library, and the boards are elected officials that have.
We have a fiduciary
We
responsibility.
do, and we're trying to follow that.
That is our responsibility, not
All of
hers.
us are trying
That's
to
our
follow
responsibility.
That's
And
what
they
we're discussing.
To have her
Yes.
present the paperwork and force us into
Right.
dollar amounts
Yeah.
that's not how this is supposed to work. This is completely. No, you're not. She is.
I am, because I feel like I'm taking her recommendation and the research she gave and saying, okay, I see where she's coming from. I see what she's thinking about the future of the library, what the needs of the library are. And I also recognize that it's going to be in the hands of the voters in the end.
You
So
have real tangible discussion on this. It's worth.
That's that part I
It's a
disagree. I disagree with, but,
Well, in the interest of having a discussion, like, let's discuss it.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this, is the motion that's on the table. And if we vote it down, then we'll make another motion.
Right.
And maybe you set the 50 or the 40 based
Right.
on some of the discussion. Nobody's forcing anything, yeah.
Yes, they are.
Correct.
There's 10, 30, 40, 60, 50. You have to choose between these options and these structures.
Josh, can we?
That's not a conversation.
Okay,
That's
can we
force
have a
feeding people.
conversation? We're starting with a motion.
You're starting with a motion
When I-
on 60,000. That's not a conversation. That's, you have to look at
What
this.
would you like to see that?
I
What,
would like to see us have a real conversation about the fact that payroll is at 80% of our tax revenue, and we've done nothing to deal with that.
okay,
And so what happens when you do that is it just bloats and grows until this place becomes so bloated that people can't tolerate it because we're just paying people's payroll and we only have 20% of the tax revenue to go toward the actual library.
all right, when I look at the payroll, I would like to discuss payroll. So I have thought about it, and when I think of, we have 3 staff now, which we didn't have before. Then I think about, we have a person in the office who is organizing, record keeping, applying for grants, researching. We have a person at the desk for patrons, checking in and out, that has to be there all the time. And then we have a person that's mobile for programming, that is the part-time person. I feel like each of those positions are necessary for the library to do all of the, both to offer things to the community, to run it smoothly, to be able to be responsible with the taxpayer money, to make the library what library is supposed to be. And, well, I don't feel like it's the first time that I've said that I don't want payroll cuts. We have been discussing this, and I haven't just said that out of stubbornness. I've said it out of a lot of consideration and thought, thinking we are doing a good job. I don't, when I look at our budget, see any waste. So if I was to look at the budget and say, well, we need to cut something, I would have to say, well, this is really wasteful. We're doing this and it's so unnecessary. We're doing this and it's so not needed. We're doing this and it's just so frivolous. I don't see waste. So when I don't see waste, then I want to know how to sustain what is going on to be good and even give more to the community if possible. That's my stand.
Because you ignore what someone says, doesn't mean it doesn't mean they've been heard. The fact of the matter is, our payroll is 80% of our tax revenue.
Our revenue.
And look, the payroll keeps going up though. We have an opportunity to not hire another employee. We have an opportunity to do that and to bring our payroll in a more sustainable area. But we're deciding not to do that. How can I in good conscience go to the taxpayers of this school district and say, we've done nothing. We've cut 500 here and we've cut 50 here and we cut 20 here. We've done nothing on our end. There is something that we can do. We haven't done it, but we're asking for 60 things.
That's.
I think that's
Go ahead.
gross.
What did you want to say?
I was gonna say if we raise revenue, then we're not talking about 80%. And I don't think that the payroll, I don't think in any of these scenarios, the payroll is jumping up to 80% and filling that gap. I think we don't have enough revenue. And I think that that is part of our problem, and that's part of our sustainability.
In fact, I worked out the numbers. If we get the revenue, if you take the payroll as part of total expenses and not part of the very low revenue, the artificially low revenue that we're bringing in right now. Because it hasn't gone up at all.
It's still real, it's not artificial. And I thought you said ChatGPT made that.
So,
Josh,
I mean, no, this is something that I need, and you can see my handwriting on it. And the numbers that I'm telling you are facts. So if you take the payroll numbers and you put it over the total expenses, then the payroll and benefits is 65%, which is what ChatGPT told us as a normal amount for it to be. If you take the collections and marketing and put it over the total expenses, then it's 13%, which ChatGPT told me was normal. And if you take the operational costs and put it over the total expenses, then it's 23%. And all those numbers are very normal, they're very proportional. The problem in our situation is that the denominator which should be 227. And that's how I worked out those percentages,
That's a balanced budget.
is one,
227 is a balanced budget.
that's right.
Right.
And so I'm suggesting that instead of, going through, ripping our hair out every year and trying to reduce any aspect of this, all of these things are the way they should be. The thing that's off kilter is that the tax revenue is not high. That, and
Something, a point of interest too, because I've chatted with some of the other librarians that are also school district libraries. They ask for increases annually. They try to stay under the 2%, but sometimes they have to ask for more. Waterford was one that I spoke with, at length. They actually serve a slightly smaller, community than we do. Our population is a little over 6,000. Theirs is just a little over 5,000. And, their tax levy is over $300,000 a year because their budget is nearly $400,000. And they serve fewer people than we do. So we're not way out of line for the size community that we serve. I also, got stats from Ken Boland based on annual reports that every library has to fill out, that most libraries that serve between 5,000 and 10,000 people, that their budgets, annual budgets range anywhere between $250,000 and $350,000 a year. So we're under that. So we're not, it's not like we're just frivolously spending money here and there. I spend a great deal of time shopping around for the best possible buys, and we do have to buy something. We're utilizing existing crafting supplies that we already have. We've reached out to the community for donations. They have been extremely generous with donating, crafting supplies, etc. Doing everything that we can. The problem is with the same, because the 190 has stayed stagnant. That was what the voters said we could have when we decided to be a school district library in 2019. So if we get an increase, by the time we see it, it applies to fiscal year 28. So we're looking at 9 years at the same amount. Meanwhile, inflation has gone up. The national average is 3%. During COVID, those 2 years, we know it all went higher than that. And there was no adjustment made to accommodate for that, but the library still needs supplies. We still, minimum wage goes up every year, fuel oil goes up every year. Things we have zero control over. So, I mean, the problem is the stagnant tax levy. We have lost 20 to 25% of our buying power since 2019. And so right there's your big budget cut. We've cut 20 to 25% of our spending simply because we haven't had an increase.
and we did just vote to have an increase.
And we just,
So I don't think we need to discuss whether to have an increase or not. It's been a question of how much, what we.
Yeah, you might as well just go there.
the current motion is the 60,000 based on various recommendation.
But you also have a tax structure that shows you the impact on the different various. And I know that, and just so you know, I did look at the equalization rates. I received the information from the school. I believe I explained that in the original packet that I gave you on a week ago.
Mhm.
And I've applied those and all that, what the equalization rate does, because when I went into this, I had no idea what RAR was or what it meant or anything. I now have an clear understanding about it. Is what it does is that it takes, so if you have $100,000 home, that's the market value of your home. It doesn't matter which of the 6 towns it's in that we serve, you will pay the same tax in dollar amount. That's what the RAR does, that's what the equalization rate, equalization rate, sorry, does, is so that, you're not gonna be penalized, that, well, I have $100,000 home in Stony Creek, but I'm gonna pay more than the houses in Luzerne, or vice versa. It's why it's equalized, so it's the same, so just keep that in mind while you're thinking about what you wanna do.
So just with those things, and I appreciate all the work you do, I appreciate what you just said, I appreciate putting all this together. Over those 9 years, if we ask for a 2% increase, we'd be at $37,000 increase over those 9 years. How do we justify asking for 60 grand? Isn't that a little bit on the greedy side? Isn't that, it's inconsistent with regular tax increases? How would we justify that?
Because at some point, we would have had to have asked for more than a 2% increase. I mean, the current budget that we are currently working off of is 226,000. But if you project that out, it's just, because I did it with smaller increases. You can look at the 10,000 and the 30,000 increases, and we continue to borrow from reserves.
Because we have a budget for 226 and our revenue is 190. That's why.
Our revenue is not 190. We do get grants from the state, from the
So,
county.
okay, so that makes my argument even better.
But, I didn't change that amount because they are unpredictable. The tax levy is the only predictable source of income that we have.
100%.
So that's why because we haven't had increases and because of the inflation going up astronomically for 2 years during the pandemic, none of these adjustments have been made for it. And part of the reason we've been able to survive, I hate even bringing this up, was because we were shut down for 5 months. We only had 1 employee to pay. And no books or anything was purchased, no programming was done. But, when we reopened, I mean, the excitement from community members that came in about the fact that we were open and how much we missed you. I got presents for taking the job. I've never experienced that in my life. Yeah, I'm gonna claim a small roast plan. And I've been talking with people, telling them about our situation. And of course, with the article that came out a couple of weeks ago, people are coming to me and bringing it up.
You're real concerned, Mary.
They are
So many people are here.
Well, I can't help that.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying to you is the people that I have spoken to have unwaveringly said they are 100% in favor of an increase.
So I've heard 10,000 from Colin. We have a motion for 60,000. Is there a number there that you?
So we have the conversation.
Okay,
This is
so-
not a conversation.
So you are on the record for your opinion. Everybody's had a chance, Maggie. Have we all had a chance to talk yet?
Well, I just have one question for Josh. You said if we had 2% increases every year, we would be at 30, we would have increased by 37,000. Would you be in favor of a $40,000?
Not until we can have a real conversation where we as a board work on the numbers together. No. I'm not in favor of any increase until we don't have the process where we're forcing things down people's throat. It's wrong. It's a wrong approach.
I just wanted to respond to something Colin said.
Okay,
He made a really good point about the people in Stony Creek.
Yeah.
And Gary. I didn't know, and I feel like it's a larger issue of them not being able to use the library. That goes beyond the extra, however, $5 or whatever. And maybe there's something that we can do, either plus wise or something, so that those kids can come to the library. Why, I don't get.
different conversation, but I used to love the bookmobile. We used to
Well,
drive
that's
that
something-
area. We all ran like an ice cream truck.
Honestly, that's one of the things that, if we ask for the larger one, a larger increase, we would potentially have the option of being able to have a bookmobile. I love that idea. There's also the option of possibly extending our hours so that we're open later so that people can come. But again, they also have their own library in Stony Creek and,
So we open like
Collaborate
15 hours.
with them. Yeah.
no, but I have been starting to at least chat a little bit with Rhonda from time to time. She, if I get a duplicate book for whatever reason, she's the first person I ask if she needs it in an effort to try to support that.
That's not a knock on Stony Creek. I think they do a terrific job. But it's not-
I'm not saying
The problem is that those taxpayers are getting taxed twice for a library and they can't use the library at all. Like their ability to use the library is extremely diminished and we don't have programming that's targeted toward them.
So on our end, I need to keep in mind that we would want to, maybe in a long range plan or toward the future, look at opportunities to reach out to those communities to offer to them. And that's good. But if there's no further discussion, everyone's opinions are in the minutes. Everyone's on record. Everyone needs to just vote their conscience, of course. The motion is to request a $60,000 increase on the tax levy. All in favor? Aye.
Second.
Wait.
That's,
Oh.
I went back and looked at my notes too, to
Okay.
see if we had a second. Yeah, that's,
Are we good?
Yeah.
So, 3 votes yay, all opposed, 2 votes opposed.
Oh,
I do think we have our work cut out.
right, whose names vote you get?
Yes, it has to be
anytime it's not unanimous, we need to write all these.
all the next.
I go to storage. I don't know. Sorry, get the first one.
I'll make
Maybe
it,
the second.
I'll make it too short. I go.
I think obviously we have our work cut out for us. I mean, to sell this. I mean,
Right.
that's not gonna be easy.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that motion.
All right. Adjourned at 5.
So we
We did vote. And we adjourned. Oh, did we vote from the adjournment? Sorry, I'm in favor. This is why I had to study for
Yes,
those.
that's right.
You second, Colin.
Yeah, Colin, purpose.
That's what I wrote.
You're in bad shape when you're relying on my memory.
So this is Maggie's signature to be delivered. I can deliver it. to people, but I don't need that letter.
You didn't need that letter.
No, I thought it was. I appreciate it.
Problem. This is that the tax, this is the one that I already handed in.
Right, but you did not find out.
No, I signed it and handed it, I didn't have a copy. And there's a difference between me, isn't there a difference between being absent and abstentions? When people weren't here.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, well,
I don't see either of those, right? One for the amount and one for the.
Yeah, they're both from here.
Okay.
This is for,
If,
this is for the.